Chapter 1655, You finished an A-rank mission? And defeated Big Dipper of the Fearless Alliance. Several D-rank mercenaries rushed forward and glanced at Yi Wanwan with raised eyebrows. They had seen people blow their own horns before but hadn't seen people blow it to this extent. The size of her horns probably pierced the heavens. Heh, thankfully you're wearing a gray uniform or else I'd really think you were an S-rank boss. A D-rank mercenary snorted at Yi Wanwan. Junior sister, don't deceive the instructor. The consequences aren't a joke. Yi Wanwan was brimming with exasperation in the face of everyone's incredulity. She really did finish an A-rank mission, all right? Are you sure you finished this mission? The instructor solemnly stared at her. However, before Yi Wanwan could speak, an abrupt voice rang out from behind her. She's a defected mercenary from Scarlet Flames Academy. Seize her. As they spoke, Zhang De and Zhang Zwenyan swiftly marched toward Yi Wanwan. A defected mercenary from Scarlet Flames Academy? The middle-aged instructor and the D-rank mercenaries around them were all shocked. Instinctively, the middle-aged instructor suddenly stood up and stepped forward, blocking Yi Wanwan's line of retreat. Yi Wanwan remained unfazed and merely stuck her hands in her pockets, not making a single move to escape. Senior brother Zhang De, what's going on? This new student is a defected student from the Scarlet Flames Academy? The middle-aged instructor hastily asked as soon as Zhang De reached them. That's right. Zhang De nodded. Many D-rank mercenaries looked astonished, and several also wore a deep frown. She was merely a D-rank mercenary. How did she become a defected mercenary? This didn't seem too logical. Although they were displeased by this junior sister's bragging, displeasure was merely displeasure. When it involved defection, it was an entirely different story. The slightest wrong turn and she might be disposed of. Instructor Zhang De, you aren't mistaken, right? This junior sister might have shocking looks and brag too much, but in the end, she's just a D-rank mercenary. Why would she defect? Furthermore, a D-rank mercenary doesn't come into contact with any classified information from Scarlet Flames Academy. How could she betray us? A senior D-rank mercenary asked. What? Are you questioning me? A chilly glint flashed in Zhang Da's eyes as he stared at the senior D-rank mercenary. I'm not questioning you. The senior D-rank mercenary shook his head. As expected, no one dared to say much to contradict an instructor of Scarlet Flames Academy and veteran C-rank mercenaries like Zhang De and Zhang Zwenyan. Senior brother Zhang De, when did she defect? The middle-aged instructor swiftly asked him. Zhang De glanced at Yi Wanwan and snorted. I issued the Academy's compulsory mission earlier, but she refused to complete it and even accepted an A-rank mission in front of everyone. Later, she realized on her own that she couldn't complete the mission, so she defected. I see. The middle-aged man looked pensive. A D-rank mercenary actually went to accept an A-rank mission in order to refuse the Academy's compulsory mission? This was the same as serving her own life on a silver platter. However, in this kind of situation, after accepting an A-rank mission, you had to complete it. If you didn't succeed or didn't try to complete it, a light consequence could be getting expelled, but a heavy consequence could be getting severely punished by the Academy before being expelled. Chapter 1656. 1656. Either way, it would be better than being considered as a defector. I'll go and call the enforcers here, the middle-aged instructor said. Defected mercenaries like her had to be reported and turned over to Scarlet Flames Academy's Enforcement Council for judgment. Soon, the middle-aged instructor led several male enforcers there. A D-rank defected mercenary? The lead enforcer was startled when he saw Yi Wanwan. He had seen many defected mercenaries, but this was probably the first time he heard of a D-rank defected mercenary. Zhang De immediately stepped forward and explained the entire situation to the enforcers. After learning about the details, the lead enforcer glanced at Yi Wanwan and impatiently ordered, "Take her away." Several male enforcers swiftly went up to capture her. Hold on, everyone. Before Yi Wanwan had the chance to do anything, an aloof voice rang out. Everyone looked behind them. A young mercenary was slowly walking toward them. Lianfo, Elder Gong's disciple Innim. No, I heard he was accepted as a personal disciple by Elder Gong a few days ago. Several veteran D-rank mercenaries were surprised when they saw the man. It's him. Yi Wanwan looked at Li Hanfeng. She saw this man a few days ago at the mission issuance area. She didn't expect to see him again today. May I ask what everyone is doing? Li Hanfeng walked forward and asked Zhang De and the enforcers with a faint smile. You're Li Hanfeng. The lead enforcer assessed Li Hanfeng. That's right, Li Hanfeng replied genially. Help me give my regards to Elder Gong, the lead enforcer said. This is a defected mercenary from our academy. We're about to take her away and interrogate her. That's a bit of a problem. She'd at least lose a layer of skin if she paid a visit to your enforcement council, Li Hanfeng replied. Li Hanfeng, what are you saying? The lead enforcer knitted his brows slightly. Not much. I'd just like everyone to show me a small courtesy and don't pursue this matter. How about it? Li Hanfeng asked. A small courtesy? Zhang De snorted. Li Hanfeng, you haven't become an S-rank mercenary student yet, but you're so arrogant already. I'm afraid your face isn't big enough for this. Zhang Zunyan's lips curled up. So what if it's Li Hanfeng? Does he think he can save a defected mercenary? Li Hanfeng, don't ask for trouble. An enforcer overlooked Li Hanfeng and moved to take Yi Wanwan away. I'm afraid none of you have the right to do anything to her. Don't blame me for not reminding you all to take responsibility for breaking the rules, Li Hanfeng nonchalantly replied with a smile. Breaking the rules? Zhang De and his cohort were all startled and looked at Li Hanfeng with confusion. What did he mean? Li Hanfeng, what are you trying to say? I'm telling you. She must be brought to the Enforcement Council to be investigated today even if the Emperor of Heaven himself came, let alone you. Zhang De coldly retorted. Is that so? The corners of Li Hanfeng's lips turned up, and he swept his eyes over Zhang De and his group. Then, what would you say if she's an elder's disciple? Everyone looked at each other, bewildered when they heard Li Hanfeng's words. An elder's disciple? Li Hanfeng, who's an elder's disciple? Are you saying this woman is an elder's disciple? The lead enforcer's expression shifted. Chapter 1657. Li Hanfeng dryly glanced at Zhang De and the others. That's right. The lead enforcer immediately turned to Zhang De. They never heard that they were capturing an elder's disciple. At Scarlet Flames Academy, even if an elder's disciple committed a serious wrong, the Enforcement Council had to obtain the responsible elder's permission before they could capture the disciple. If the elder didn't agree, the Enforcement Council didn't have the power to take that disciple away without permission. Only then did Yi Wanwan remember that the Scarlet Flames instructor who received her when she first entered Scarlet Flames Academy took her to the residence of one of the 4 elders at the academy, Elder Gong, and Elder Gong accepted her as a disciple in name. If it weren't for Li Hanfeng mentioning this matter today, Yi Wanwan probably would have forgotten it a long time ago. Zhang De, you never mentioned this woman was an elder's disciple. The lead enforcer promptly turned to Zhang De with a deep frown. Zhang De snorted. Do you think that's plausible in the slightest? Which elder would accept a new D-rank mercenary as a disciple? The enforcers all met each other's eyes. Zhang De's words were reasonable. They had never heard of any elder from Scarlet Flames Academy accepting a D-rank mercenary as a disciple. Those elders themselves were absent of personal desires and placed all of their hopes on their disciples. Especially at Scarlet Flames Academy, the elders might look harmonious on the surface, but they fought ferociously in private. There wasn't an elder who didn't hope for their disciples to defeat the other elders' disciples. Hence, why would they accept a D-rank mercenary as a disciple? There wasn't any logic to that. Li Hanfeng, say, you must have an unusual relationship with this defected mercenary. You want to protect her, so you claimed she's an elder's disciple. Do you know that you've committed a violation already? Zhang De coldly said to Li Hanfeng. Li Hanfeng smiled indifferently at him but didn't explain anything. Li Hanfeng, you said she's an elder's disciple, but whose disciple is she? Why didn't I know about this? The lead enforcer frowned lightly. If you don't believe me, you can take her away, but I've already said my piece, Li Hanfeng replied. Li Hanfeng, you said she's an elder's disciple. Tell us, which elder is she a disciple of? The lead enforcer asked. Elder Gong, he answered. Elder Gong? This junior sister is Elder Gong's disciple? How is that possible? Elder Gong is one of the 4 great elders at Scarlet Flames Academy, and his disciples have been seriously suppressed by the other elders' disciples in these past 2 years. Why would he accept a D-rank mercenary and ask for ridicule from the other elders? Many nearby mercenaries discussed wildly. Ha! You're saying she's the disciple of Elder Gong, Li Hanfeng? Zhang De was teeming with mockery. Are you kidding me? Elder Gong was renowned for being cold inside and out at Scarlet Flames Academy. He absolutely wouldn't accept a disciple easily. Especially since Elder Gong's beloved disciple, Worryless Nye, swept across Scarlet Flames Academy many years ago and became the Academy's legend. After Worryless Nye disappeared, Elder Gong's archenemy, another elder, accepted Nye Linglong as his disciple. From then on, Nye Linglong personally broke the records created by Worryless Nye back then one after another and became the Academy's new legend. This was also the exact reason that Elder Gong's archenemy stepped above Elder Gong and stripped away many powers that should have belonged to Elder Gong. Hence, this matter was related to Elder Gong's own face and dignity. There was no way Elder Gong would accept a D-rank mercenary as a disciple. Chapter 1658. Yi Wanwan reeled from shock when she heard everyone's discussion. Her freebie master was actually Worryless Nye's first teacher at Scarlet Flames Academy. Didn't that mean Elder Gong was actually her master? Yi Wanwan also heard people mentioning how her departure back then afflicted too great a blow to Elder Gong. Furthermore, Nye Linglong continued to break every record that Worryless Nye created, causing Elder Gong's archenemy to belittle him and step above him. Yi Wanwan's veins bulged on her forehead. Back then, she actually brought a thankless wretch home who kept everyone in the dark. What elder's disciple? A load of bullshit. Take her away for a detailed investigation, an exceptionally good-looking woman said after a glance at Yi Wanwan as she slowly walked toward them with an indifferent expression. Several high-ranked mercenaries were astonished by the woman's appearance. Meng Ke, Scarlet Flames Academy's new superstar and prodigy. Shortly after entering the academy, she completed 2 S-rank missions. She was the pearl of the Meng family's patriarch and was accepted as a personal disciple by Elder Gong's archenemy. Furthermore, she was Scarlet Flames Academy's new legend and Nye Linglong's direct junior sister. Yi Wanwan turned to Meng Ke. She saw this girl before when she participated in the entrance examination. She was an extremely conceited and prideful person. Meng Ke glanced at Li Hanfeng but didn't start a conversation. Why are you just standing around? Arrest her and interrogate her severely, Meng Ke said aloofly. Zhang De sneered and was about to instruct the enforcers to act when an expressionless elderly man wearing a brocade shirt suddenly appeared. Master? Li Hanfeng hastily walked forward and reverently greeted Elder Gong as he bowed at Elder Gong. Elder Gong glanced at Li Hanfeng and made a noise in response. Damn, this elderly man is Elder Gong? One of 4 great elders at Scarlet Flames Academy, an old legend of Scarlet Flames Academy, Worryless Nye's first teacher? I've heard about the 4 great elders, but I've been at Scarlet Flames Academy for so long and have never seen them once. For a D-rank mercenary like you would need to burn some incense to even see an elder's disciple. But you want to see an elder? Some veteran D-rank mercenaries wildly conversed after seeing Elder Gong. Damn, this junior sister can't really be Elder Gong's disciple, right? I think it's impossible. Strange, Elder Gong has been terribly suppressed by his archenemy these past few years due to his disciples, so why would he accept a D-rank mercenary? Wouldn't he just be suppressed even more harshly by his archenemy? Elder Gong, why did you come? The lead enforcer turned to Elder Gong in surprise. However, Elder Gong didn't respond. He looked at the nearby Yi Wanwan and said, "Come here." Okay, Yi Wanwan reflexively walked to Elder Gong's side and called, "Master." She couldn't help examining this seemingly lonely elderly man in closer detail. So he was her master at Scarlet Flames Academy back then? Everyone at Scarlet Flames Academy knew about Elder Gong's fondness for worryless Nya. It was precisely because of this that Elder Gong was angered to the point of coughing blood when Nya Linglong became his archenemy's disciple and intentionally broke worryless Nya's records. For some reason, grief weighed down on Yi Wanwan when she looked at the elderly man before her. "I heard you wanted to apprehend my disciple." Elder Gong swept his eyes over the enforcers, Zhang De, and the others, and his aloof voice was akin to thunder. Zhang De was shocked and incredulous, and Zhang Zunyan next to him also looked panicked. Chapter 1659. 1659. Zhang Zunyan never imagined this woman was actually Elder Gong's disciple. If he knew Yi Wanwan was Elder Gong's disciple, he absolutely wouldn't have provoked her easily. "Elder Gong, this student really is your disciple?" The lead enforcer looked at Yi Wanwan with surprise evident in his face. "Do I need to repeat myself?" Elder Gong aloofly asked while looking at him. "Elder Gong, that's not what I meant." The lead enforcer shook his head and wanted to say something else but refrained. Even if Yi Wanwan was Elder Gong's disciple, it would probably be difficult to protect her completely since she defected. Even if she's an elder's disciple, she can't escape from the academy's punishment after committing an offense like this. At that moment, the previously silent Meng Ku expressionlessly interjected. Elder Gong's icy gaze landed on Meng Ku. "Young one, are you speaking to me?" Meng Ku's brows knitted. She felt like a giant mountain was pressing on her. Even breathing was a bit difficult. Heh! Suddenly, an elderly man in gold robes slowly walked toward them and stopped next to Meng Ku. When Meng Ku saw the gold-robed elderly man, her expression shifted, and she hastily bowed and cupped her fists. "Master!" "Greetings, Elder Lei He." The enforcers, Zhang De, and the others all hastily saluted when they saw the gold-robed elderly man. Zhang De especially sighed in relief internally. Elder Lei He was also one of Scarlet Flames Academy's 4 great elders. Moreover, he was Elder Gong's archenemy. After worryless Nya disappeared and Nya Linglong enrolled in Scarlet Flames Academy, Nya Linglong became Elder Lei He's disciple and personally broke every single one of worryless Nya's records at Scarlet Flames Academy under Elder Lei He's guidance, causing Elder Gong to spit out blood from anger. Especially in the past few years, nearly all of Elder Lei He's disciples effortlessly suppressed Elder Gong's disciples. A cold glint surfaced in Elder Gong's eyes upon seeing Lei He. He and Lei He enrolled in Scarlet Flames Academy at the same time when they were young. Lei He was handsome with a tall build in his youth, and he took advantage of Elder Gong's absence from the academy one time and defiled his beloved wife. Elder Gong's beloved wife felt like she had wronged him and committed suicide not long after. Yet, Lei He vehemently claimed that it was Elder Gong's beloved wife who seduced him herself. The academy and Elder Gong didn't have any evidence, and Lei He had already become Scarlet Flames Academy's pillar by that time, so they dropped the matter. More than 20 years ago, Elder Gong sought Lei He out for revenge after getting drunk and evoked the first of many internal disputes at Scarlet Flames Academy. In the end, Elder Gong couldn't use his full strength due to his intoxication, and the matter concluded with Elder Gong injured. Elder Gong, you're at least one of Scarlet Flames Academy's 4 great elders. Just because your disciple is useless doesn't mean you can show up yourself and bully my disciple. Lei He glanced at Elder Gong and snorted. Elder Lei He, Elder Gong's disciple defected from the academy, Zhang De quietly explained. Lei He smirked when he heard that. Disciple? Elder Gong, this D-rank mercenary disciple of yours is rather capable. She even dared to do something like defect. Defecting was taboo at the academy. Even the headmaster himself couldn't protect his disciple if his disciple defected from the academy, let alone the mere disciple of an elder. Following Elder Gong and Elder Lei He's appearance, the matter was exacerbated and alarmed many of the academy's higher-ups, including the Enforcement Council's president and many elders. Chapter 1660. As the number of higher-ups present grew, the sneer on Lei He's face grew. He wanted to see how Elder Gong would settle this matter. Elder Gong, why did you accept a D-rank mercenary as a disciple? Elder Gong, no matter what, since your disciple committed a betrayal, she must be punished accordingly. Many higher-ups piped in. Elder Gong frowned slightly and turned to Yi Wanwan to ask, Wanwan, what's going on? Did you betray the academy? Yi Wanwan shook her head minutely. Master, someone is purely trying to frame me on purpose. I didn't defect from the academy at all. Oof, what an enormous joke. Say, why would I, an instructor of Scarlet Flames, frame a tiny D-rank mercenary like you? Zhang De glanced at Yi Wanwan derisively. Heh, Yi Wanwan stared at Zhang De, the corners of her lips turning up in an icy smile. Since you do know that I'm a D-rank mercenary, please tell me why I, a D-rank mercenary, would defect instead of just immediately dropping out from the academy? At Scarlet Flames Academy, only mercenary students who have been promoted to B-rank and above aren't permitted to drop out and can only defect. If a D-rank mercenary like me wanted to leave, why didn't I drop out? Why did I defect? Do you have a brain? Zhang De pointed at Yi Wanwan. Insolence! How could you speak to an instructor like this? It'd be absolutely normal for a person disrespectful of their superiors and possessing strange thinking like you to do something atrocious like defecting. Disrespectful of my superiors? Yi Wanwan looked astonished. Are you referring to yourself when you say superiors? Strange, I paid money to come to this academy to study. Yet, a low-ranking instructor like you robs D-rank mercenaries money but won't properly teach us and frames and admonishes your bread and butter in all sorts of ways instead. Why does Scarlet Flames Academy have vermin like you? You! Zhang De pointed at Yi Wanwan, his face alternating between red and white. There had never been a D-rank mercenary who dared to speak to him like this. What? Yi Wanwan's eyes swept over the D-rank mercenaries around them. See for yourself. There are so many senior brothers and sisters here. Some of them have been at Scarlet Flames Academy for 4 or 5 years but are still D-rank mercenaries to this day. Aren't you the reason why? Many veteran D-rank mercenaries nodded in agreement. That's right. I've been a D-rank mercenary for 3 freaking years now. I haven't learned that much, but I pay so much money every year and can't even rise to C rank. My family members all say that I'm a martial arts prodigy and learn everything quickly, so it definitely isn't my problem. Look, I've been here 5 years already, but I'm still a D-rank mercenary. Some Scarlet Flames instructors only make an effort to teach things after privately accepting some incentives. If you don't give them any incentives, they might even make life hard for you. I think this junior sister is completely right. Although everyone was full of resentment, they didn't dare to loudly discuss it and only whispered amongst themselves. Elder Gong, your disciple's tongue is as sharp as a needle. As a student of the academy, she publicly talked back to an instructor and even claimed an instructor framed her. She's a bit too insolent, isn't she? An elderly higher-up coldly interjected. Heh, the apple seriously doesn't fall far from the tree, Leahy snorted. Elder Gong, we know you were very furious after worryless Nye disappeared and her records were broken by Nye Linglong, but Elder Lei he is truly better than you in teaching his disciples. You really don't need to randomly accept some terrible disciples and let yourself go like this, an elderly woman said while looking at Elder Gong. Chapter 1661, Seniors, why do you need to waste your breath? Even if Elder Gong is an elder and his disciple committed a wrong, he can't act impartially. Even if the headmaster protects her, she'd still need to be punished, Meng Ke coldly said. Seize her, Lei he ordered the enforcers. The enforcers promptly encircled Yi Wanwan and made to capture her in one move. Let me see who dare. Yi Wanwan shouted severely. What? You think someone like you can resist? Meng Ke glanced at her. Who do you think you are? Yi Wanwan's gaze landed on Meng Ke. What did you say? A chilly glint flitted through Meng Ke's eyes. However, Yi Wanwan ignored Meng Ke and turned to Lei He and the other higher-ups instead. She snorted and said, You Scarlet Flames Academy higher-ups are seriously shameless. All the higher-ups present were startled. Ever since Scarlet Flames Academy was established, no one had dared to publicly insult the Academy's higher-ups and elders aside from worryless Nye. This woman was the second person to do so. Not only that, but she was also a mere D-rank mercenary. You deserve to be killed for your offensive disrespect. Zhang De yelled. Screw your offensive disrespect. Yi Wanwan rolled her eyes. You claiming that I defected is an act of slander and you're creating rumors. If I'm condemned by chance, you'd be committing homicide. Killing your own academy's mercenary is considered eliciting internal strife and betraying the academy. I'm asking you, which offense is greater? Before the higher-ups and elders could respond, Elder Gong turned to Yi Wanwan and said, Wanwan, you're saying you didn't defect and were wronged? That's right, Master. Yi Wanwan nodded. Huh? What a cosmic joke. You're saying you didn't defect? Do you have proof? An old woman asked. Huh? What a cosmic joke. You're saying I defected? Do you have proof? Yi Wanwan glanced at the old woman. You. The old woman trembled with anger. My words are proof. Zhang De shouted. Really? Why don't you shoot into the heavens then? Even the headmaster isn't as tyrannical as a low-ranking instructor like you. It was clearly because I discovered you had shady dealings with a higher-up from Stars and Sun Academy. Is that why you wanted to frame me in retaliation? Yi Wanwan snorted. Who's having shady dealings with Stars and Sun Academy? Don't talk bullshit. Zhang De angrily glared at Yi Wanwan. Stars and Sun Academy and Scarlet Flames Academy had always been archenemies. This kind of offense wasn't a joke. You have shady dealings with Stars and Sun Academy's higher-ups, so you wanted to silence me permanently, Yi Wanwan retorted aloofly. Do you have proof? Zhang De questioned. My words are proof. Yi Wanwan returned his original words to him. You little sharp-tongued bastard. Zhang De was livid from rage. Oh, I wouldn't dare to be a little bastard. I'm at least better than you, an old bastard. Yi Wanwan was all smiles. Wanwan, if you have proof, then show everyone. With Master here, you don't need to be afraid of anyone, Elder Gong said next to her. Yi Wanwan immediately told the whole story to Elder Gong. Master, I finished the A-rank missions, so I didn't defect at all, Yi Wanwan added with a smile. As soon as she said that, all the higher-ups, including Lei He and Elder Gong, all wore odd expressions. A D-rank mercenary claimed she finished an A-rank mission. Chapter 1662, You finished an A-rank mission? Elder Gong frowned lightly. This wasn't something she could joke about. Elder Gong, did you personally teach this disciple her bragging skills yourself? Where did a mere D-rank mercenary get the guts to run her mouth off here? Lei He indifferently said while looking at Elder Gong. Master, your ability at bragging truly can't compare to Elder Gong's, Meng Ke piped in. As Yi Wanwan watched the master and disciples echoing act, she grew increasingly indignant on Elder Gong's behalf. She immediately turned to Elder Gong. Master, look, your quality truly can't compare to Elder Lei He. After all, Elder Lei He brings his disciple in tow even when mocking someone. Their ability to echo each other is much stronger than ours. Unlike them, we find it shameful. Lei He and Meng Ke both coldly stared at Yi Wanwan. Elder Gong didn't look any different. He said to her, You can't speak dishonestly about finishing an A-rank mission. If you have evidence that proves you completed an A-rank mission, Master will definitely seek justice for you. Yi Wanwan smiled faintly and pulled out the mission slip in the next second, displaying it in front of everyone. A-rank mission. Defeat Big Dipper from the Fearless Alliance. After seeing the slip, a wave of mocking snickers swept through the crowd again without any surprise. However, these snickers were directed at Elder Gong, not Yi Wanwan. At Scarlet Flames Academy, Elder Gong normally didn't give any leniency and conducted business brusquely and strictly, not stepping a single centimeter off the line. Hence, he offended many higher-ups, so these higher-ups took advantage of Yi Wanwan's matter and used it to suppress Elder Gong. No one actually cared whether Yi Wanwan truly defected. This was a game of power amongst Scarlet Flame's higher-ups. The Fearless Alliance. Elder Gong, isn't your disciple too cute? Big Dipper is President Fearless Capable Left Arm and Confidant. The old woman ridiculed from her position next to Elder Lei He. Say, Elder Gong, does your disciple also know that her crime of defection is inescapable, So it's like she's smashing a pot to pieces just because it's cracked? Defeating Big Dipper of the Fearless Alliance? By just a mere D-rank mercenary like her? Lei He gave his disciple, Meng Ku, a look. Meng Ku instantly said aloofly, "Heh, you claim you completed the A-rank mission of defeating Big Dipper? Sure, take out your proof. Doesn't the mission say you need a video for proof?" Wanwan, the video. Elder Gong looked at Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan nodded and searched around her pockets. Her expression abruptly shifted. "I lost my phone, and the video's saved on the phone." Loud guffaws broke out from the crowd. Even the high-ranked mercenaries in the distance were clutching their stomachs from laughing. Wasn't the excuse of losing her phone too ridiculous? However, Elder Gong's expression remained unchanged, as though it was within his expectations. After all, his disciple in name was merely a D-rank mercenary, so how could she finish an A-rank mission, especially one related to the Fearless Alliance? "I'm Big Dipper of the Fearless Alliance. Whose mercenary are you to dare to challenge me?" In the midst of everyone's guffaws, Yi Wanwan took out her phone and held it up with a wicked look. The phone was playing a video. Near the Fearless Alliance's headquarters, an extremely ugly woman's figure was akin to wild gales while her aura was akin to a terrifying tsunami. In less than 2 rounds, the ugly woman sent Big Dipper crashing to the ground with a kick and stepped on his fallen figure. "I didn't lose my phone, I was lying to you." Yi Wanwan smirked. Chapter 1663 Absolute silence descended on the audience. In the video, Big Dipper crashed to the ground, cutting a sorry figure. How is this possible? The D-rank mercenaries were incredulous about the contents of Yi Wanwan's video. The president of the Fearless Alliance's confidant, Big Dipper, was defeated so easily by a D-rank mercenary from Scarlet Flame's academy and got stepped on. How could this have happened? What a joke! Meng Ku stared at Yi Wanwan. "Is he Big Dipper of the Fearless Alliance simply because you said so? Most of the Fearless Alliance's people are mysterious, and outsiders rarely see them. What evidence do you have to prove it's him?" Yi Wanwan's lips twitched. This woman is an idiot, right? Anyone with a single brain cell should realize no one would pull up a fake video in this kind of situation. It would be instantly exposed if that man wasn't Big Dipper. It appeared these children of the independent states' patrician families were a bit too obsessed with practicing martial arts and lost their brains somewhere along the way. That's right. What evidence do you have to prove that the man in the video is Big Dipper? A mere D-rank mercenary like you probably can't even get near the Fearless Alliance, let alone defeat Big Dipper. Zhang Zuinyan also mocked her nearby. Before Yi Wanwan could respond, an S-rank mercenary student wearing a gold robe walked over and glanced at the howling Big Dipper in the video before expressionlessly saying, "The man in the video is Big Dipper indeed." In the Fearless Alliance, aside from the elders and Bro Flattop, members like Big Dipper are typically very high profile, and many people recognize him. There isn't much room for faking it. Some high-ranked mercenaries who had seen Big Dipper before all nodded in agreement. "Yes, the man under Junior Sister's feet is Big Dipper. I've seen him before. That person really is Big Dipper. Did this Junior Sister really get underestimated? She possessed the ability of an A-rank mercenary from the start, so how is she a mere D-rank mercenary?" Upon hearing those high-ranked mercenaries, Zhang Zuinyan and Zhang Da's faces both changed. Who could have imagined a D-rank newbie like Yi Wanwan really single-handedly completed the A-rank mission of defeating Big Dipper? Meng Ku's expression darkened instantly. A mere D-rank newbie actually completed an A-rank mission within days of entering the academy. Elder Gong turned to Yi Wanwan, surprise flashing through his eyes. Back then, he only accepted Yi Wanwan as a disciple in name due to Emperor Ji. His passing friendship with Emperor Ji was one factor, but most importantly, Emperor Ji was the fiancé of his beloved disciple, Worryless Nye. If it weren't for this connection, he absolutely wouldn't have accepted Yi Wanwan even as a disciple in name. "Master, Junior Sister Yi was probably looked down on," Li Hanfeng said aloofly. Elder Gong pensively examined Yi Wanwan. "Ha, Elder Gong, your disciple is quite extraordinary. She's only a D-rank mercenary but could complete an A-rank mission. Elder Gong has picked up a treasure this time. Several neutral elders were all smiles. A higher-up around 50 or so years old didn't allow Elder Gong to respond before walking forward and stopping in front of Yi Wanwan. Child, you're probably just Elder Gong's disciple in name and not his personal disciple, right? Yi Wanwan nodded honestly. Chapter 1664. There was an innate difference between a personal disciple and disciple in name. A personal disciple referred to a disciple who inherited his master's life's knowledge and required a grand ceremony when the master officially accepted the disciple. As for a disciple in name, it didn't require any ceremony and a verbal promise would do. Typically speaking, higher-ups in the Scarlet Flames Academy might have hundreds of disciples in name but definitely wouldn't have more than 10 personal disciples. Good. After learning that Yi Wanwan was only a disciple in name, the elderly man nodded and smiled faintly. Then acknowledge me as your master. I'll accept you as my personal disciple. Yi Wanwan was startled. It can also work like that? What are you doing? Are you stealing my disciple in front of me? Elder Gong immediately turned to the elderly man. Elder Gong, what are you saying? This lass isn't your personal disciple, so how's it stealing? If you mind, then I won't continue. The elderly man helplessly smiled at him. Still mountains away from Meng Ku. Back when Meng Ku was still a B-rank mercenary, she completed 2 missions, one A-ranked while the other was peak B-ranked and close to a rank. The old woman next to Lei said. Excuse me, please help me document my mission. Yi Wanwan ignored the old woman and turned to the mission reporting instructor. Sure, the instructor nodded furiously. An A-rank mission, right? One more. Yi Wanwan pulled out another mission slip. A-rank mission, defeat 7-star of the Fearless Alliance. Before anyone could react, Yi Wanwan played another video on her phone. Under everyone's incredulous gazes, 7-star of the Fearless Alliance crashed to the ground similarly from Yi Wanwan's kick after several rounds of fighting in the video. Am I blind? 2 A-rank missions? She also took care of 7-star? The high-ranked mercenaries were stunned. Li Hanfeng also found it hard to believe. Li Hanfeng himself didn't dare to claim he could defeat 7-star and Big Dipper from the Fearless Alliance, especially both of them at the same time. Elder Gong looked surprised. Did he really encounter a treasure without recognizing it? T2 A-rank missions? The documenting instructor stared at Yi Wanwan like he'd seen a ghost. This is a lot more impressive than Elder Lei He's disciple, Meng Ku, right? Meng Ku's highest record is finishing an A-rank and peak B-rank mission when she was a B-rank mercenary, but Elder Gong's disciple finished 2 A-rank missions when she's just a D-rank mercenary, and both missions are related to the Fearless Alliance, a high-ranked mercenary suddenly commented. Elder Lei He's expression chilled instantly. Upon seeing her master's displeasure, Meng Ku stepped forward and pointed at Yi Wanwan as she aloofly said, Junior Sister Yi, your strength isn't bad. A book truly can't be judged by its appearance. Since it's like that, I'd like to learn a few moves from you. Silence enveloped the area following Meng Ku's provoking words. Meng Ku, I'll keep you company if you want to exchange notes. Li Hanfeng stepped forward, blocking Yi Wanwan behind him. However, Yi Wanwan shook her head and asked with a chuckle, an S-rank mercenary like you want to compete with a D-rank mercenary? As soon as Yi Wanwan said that, many students burst into laughter. Also, I don't know you. Why should I teach you a few moves? Are we on familiar terms? Yi Wanwan added. Meng Ku's face visibly darkened. Then I'll teach Junior Sister Yi a few moves. Chapter 1665. 1665? You teach me? Yi Wanwan stared at Meng Ku like she was a clown. What are you called again? Granny Meng? I don't even remember your name, but you shamelessly want to coach me in front of all these people? Junior Sister, don't have such a sharp tongue. You'll eventually eat a giant loss. Meng Ku's eyes sparkled icily. I've eaten fish, I've eaten meat, but I've never eaten a loss, Yi Wanwan retorted with a snort. Hey, good. Elder Gong, you've really accepted a wonderful disciple, Lei He said to Elder Gong with a glance at Yi Wanwan. Your disciple is also nice. Her mother gave birth to her, but her father didn't raise her. She's very similar to you, Elder Gong calmly said. Master? So this elder's an orphan? Is his disciple also an orphan? Yi Wanwan curiously blinked as she looked at Elder Gong. Elder Gong thought about it for a moment before nodding. That's right. Ah, so pitiful. Yi Wanwan sighed. Several high-ranked mercenaries couldn't help but wipe their sweat. This Yi Wanwan couldn't have any bigger guts. She actually dared to insult and mock Elder Lei He as an orphan. It was fortunate she had Elder Gong protecting her right now, or else she wouldn't even know how she died. Young one, I think you want to die. Elder Lei He took a step forward and arrived next to Yi Wanwan instantly. At the same time, Elder Gong protected Yi Wanwan behind him, blocking her figure. Lei He, if my disciple loses a single strand of hair from now on, I'll kill one of your disciples. If my disciple dies, I'll make all of your personal disciples die without a burial place, Elder Gong said coldly. You dare. You can try. Elder Gong didn't yield a centimeter. Enough, you two. Must the headmaster step in? An elderly higher-up said to the duo as he frowned deeply. Elder Lei He snorted and turned to leave with Meng Ku in tow. The friendly martial competition will be held in 3 days. At that time, I'll personally instruct junior sister Yi. Meng Ku's voice drifted from the distance. After Lei He left, many higher-ups also dispersed. Misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding. I thought you defected? Who would have expected you to really have the ability to complete an A-rank mission? I'll go right now to receive my punishment, Zhang De suddenly said to Yi Wanwan with a grin. He didn't wait for Yi Wanwan's reply before dragging a panicked Zhang Zuanyan and fleeing from this place. As for Yi Wanwan, she was too lazy to keep wasting her words with those two. Soon, Yi Wanwan successfully reported her missions and received many mercenary honor points. After that, Elder Gong brought Yi Wanwan and Li Hanfeng back to his residence. Inside a large living room, Elder Gong said to Yi Wanwan, Wanwan, your potential is immense. Lei He will definitely order his disciple to target you later. Don't participate in the martial competition in 3 days. Master will excuse you from it. Yi Wanwan nodded calmly. I have a secret technique that I'll impart to you. Back then, your senior sister Worryless took only 1 year to master it. Master hopes you can succeed within 3 years, Elder Gong said to her. But I'm Worryless, nya. As Yi Wanwan watched Elder Gong teach her the technique, she felt a sense of déjà vu and instantly remembered every move and every sequence in her mind. Practice diligently. You should be able to remember the moves in 3 months with your intelligence. Elder Gong sat to the side after the display concluded. Master, I've learned it, Yi Wanwan responded truthfully. Chapter 1666, What did you say? Elder Gong was startled, thinking he heard her wrong. Master, I finished remembering the moves, Yi Wanwan repeated. Nonsense. Elder Gong frowned. For these moves, you can draw the outside of the tiger, but it's hard to draw its bones. You need to use your heart to carefully analyze every move and arch. How could you possibly learn everything at a glance? So it's my fault for being a martial arts prodigy? Go back and practice it diligently. It will suffice if you memorize all the moves in 3 months. I'll test you at that time, Elder Gong added. Yi Wanwan had no choice but to agree. By the time she left Elder Gong's residence, it was the evening. Yi Wanwan went to the cafe opened by wealthy young Master Shin inside the academy by herself. As soon as she entered the cafe, she caught sight of Li Hanfeng. The cavernous cafe was fairly vacant with Li Hanfeng as its only occupant. Li Hanfeng was currently staring at a photo in his hand, lost in thought, and he didn't notice Yi Wanwan arriving behind him. Out of curiosity, Yi Wanwan examined the photo. The photo contained an extremely cold girl who didn't seem to have a trace of human emotion in her eyes. Her whole body was akin to a block of ice. Your girlfriend? Yi Wanwan asked with a smile. Li Hanfeng immediately put the photo back in his jacket and turned to Yi Wanwan. Why are you here? Li Hanfeng asked with a frown. Yi Wanwan smiled and sat down across from him. You were able to come here, so why not me? Do you miss your girlfriend? Don't speak carelessly. That's senior sister Worryless. Li Hanfeng shot her a look. Worryless nye? Yi Wanwan was startled. She was the girl in the photo. That's right, Li Hanfeng replied. Yi Wanwan, only now did Yi Wanwan understand why her parents and brother didn't recognize her. She freaking didn't recognize herself, alright? She didn't expect to have been such an icy Lolita in the independent state. It didn't match her current style at all. Yi Wanwan was really curious about how she grew to become so different from her past self. Have some. Li Hanfeng pushed a drink toward Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan didn't think much of it and was a bit thirsty, so she drank the liquid in one gulp. What kind of drink is this? Yi Wanwan looked a bit flushed. Pakto. The alcohol content is considerable, Li Hanfeng said. Li Hanfeng, fuck you. Bang. A giant noise rang out. Li Hanfeng's body flew out of his seat like a snipped kite. Yi Wanwan's intoxicated state was evident on her face. The corners of her lips turned into a wicked smirk and her expression was nefarious. An unknown amount of time passed before Yi Wanwan regained consciousness and opened her eyes. The cafe was in a state of disorder. The tables and chairs were toppled everywhere and the bar was smashed into smithereens. The staff members looked like they had seen a ghost. Terror and panic were all over their faces. The blood at the corner of Li Hanfeng's mouth had clotted already, but his face was pale as he sat by the side. Yi Wanwan pressed down on her temples hard, the smell of alcohol reeking off her body. Are you a demon? Li Hanfeng expressionlessly stared at her after seeing her wake up. A demon? Yi Wanwan was dumbfounded. What did I do? Her last memory was drinking a cocktail with high alcohol content, and her memories turned blank after that. You don't know what happened? A server asked with a terrified expression. Yi Wanwan shook her head. How could she know what happened? Look for yourself. I recorded it on my phone, so don't try to deny it. You have to compensate for everything you damaged. The server handed his phone to Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan's pupils contracted when she saw her actions in the video. Am I freaking Popeye? Chapter 1667. Yi Wanwan watched the video, flabbergasted. The woman in the video was lightning fast, surpassing a normal human speed. You could only see the shadows of her strike, and Li Hanfeng was sent flying back in the next second. Li Hanfeng also reacted extremely quickly and swiftly went on the defense. He questioned why she was attacking him suddenly, but the woman merely smiled wickedly. However, with the ugly disguise on her, the wicked smile was truly an eyesore. Following that, the cafe was essentially trashed by the woman, and the roof barely escaped the fate of being yanked off. However, the woman in the video wasn't anyone but Yi Wanwan herself. Yi Wanwan was dumbstruck. She only drank the cocktail that Li Hanfeng gave to her, and then blacked out. Yi Wanwan knew her alcohol limit but couldn't understand her behavior after blacking out. Since when did she become the incarnation of Popeye? Popeye only transforms after he eats spinach. Do I freaking transform after getting drunk? Junior sister Yi, if you wanted to have a match with me, you could have told me outright. Why did you attack me sneakily? Li Hanfeng wiped the traces of blood from his mouth, his face deathly pale. How do I freaking know? Yi Wanwan was willing to swear to the cafe's lights that she hadn't been aware she acted like this after getting drunk. No wonder. Yi Wanwan suddenly remembered how she finished off Yi Shuihan's hard liquor back at the Fearless Alliance and her memories blacked out afterward. After she blacked out, though, everyone in the Fearless Alliance stopped doubting her identity, and even First Elder and Third Elder submitted to her. Wasn't she too freaking scary when she was drunk? When she was drunk, she simply couldn't be any more cool and awesome. If she had this kind of martial strength, she could do whatever she wanted in the independent state from now on. She wouldn't have to be afraid of anyone. Your martial technique is kind of similar to senior sister Worryless, Li Hanfeng quietly said when Yi Wanwan remained silent. Of course, I'm Worryless Nya herself. His words caused Yi Wanwan to sink into contemplation and connect this incident to something else. Li Hanfeng just said that her martial technique was similar to Worryless Nie's when she was drunk. Could it be that she recovered Worryless Nie's memories and martial strength whenever she blacked out? However, after thinking about it carefully, recovering her memories didn't seem too plausible. In the video, when she blacked out, she basically antagonized the heaven, earth, and even the air. If she recovered her memories, why would she beat Li Hanfeng up for no reason? Can it be? I regain Worryless Nie's martial arts skills when I'm drunk? Yi Wanwan thought. If it's like that, perhaps I'm Worryless Nie. Yi Wanwan teasingly stared at Li Hanfeng. He glanced at her but didn't say anything. He slapped the dust off his body and turned to the cafe server. Put the damages here onto my bill. Sure. The server nodded frantically. Then Li Hanfeng didn't spare her a glance before turning and leaving the cafe. I'm really Worryless Nie. Did you have to ignore me like that? Chapter 1668. 1668. Not long after Li Hanfeng left, Yi Wanwan also turned to leave. The feeling of the cafe server's terrified gaze trailing behind her left a distaste in her mouth. Yi Wanwan found it dull and knew she was in the wrong, so she didn't linger in the cafe. When she returned to the group dormitory, Li Xian and the others were looking at her with their eyes wide open. Sis? Have you eaten yet? I brought you some Gafen one. Li Xian quickly walked up with an ingratiating smile. Scram! A veteran mercenary bulldozed Li Xian to the side and stared at Yi Wanwan with a big grin. Sis Wan, I bought you a milk tea and luxurious delicacies. Yi Wanwan, what's going on? Everyone in the dorm started inquiring about her well-being and asking if she needed anything, baffling her. Sis Wan, you're too awesome. You actually beat up Big Dipper and 7-Star from the Fearless Alliance. Sis Wan, take us along next time. As long as Sis Wan brings us with her on a few missions, we'll become C-rank mercenaries. Realization dawned on Yi Wanwan. No wonder they were all so enthusiastic. Sis Wan, you're the second person in the entire Scarlet Flames Academy to dare to insult the higher-ups. The first person was Senior Sister Worryless. Senior Sister Worryless Nie is Scarlet Flames Academy's legend, and she created so many records. Too bad they were all broken by Senior Sister Nie Linglong afterward. A cold glint sparkled in Yi Wanwan's eyes. I will reclaim everything that Nie Linglong stole from me, one day. The next morning, Yi Wanwan arrived at Elder Gong's manor. There was another old woman inside the living room aside from Elder Gong. Yi Wanwan saw this old woman yesterday. She was the higher-up who was aligned with Elder Lei He. Elder Gong, your disciple must participate in the martial competition, the old woman said with a sneer. Elder Gong glanced at the old woman. Yi Wanwan is just a D-rank mercenary. Her participation is optional. But Elder Gong, your disciple completed 2 A-rank missions, so she's required to participate regardless of her rank. Furthermore, Elder Lei He asked the headmaster already, and the headmaster agreed. The old woman retorted with a superficial smile. Before Elder Gong could respond, Yi Wanwan stood up and looked at the old woman. She frigidly said, Tell Meng Ku and Elder Lei He that I'll participate in the martial competition. The old woman smiled and nodded. Elder Gong, you heard it for yourself. It was your disciple who's willing to participate. Her words are like splashed water and can't be taken back. The old woman didn't allow Elder Gong an opportunity to speak before she left. After the old woman left, Elder Gong turned to Yi Wanwan with a displeased and grim expression. Who permitted you to participate in the martial competition? Alcohol. Yi Wanwan, do you know why Elder Lei He requested your participation from the headmaster? It's because he wants to elevate you then make you fall to your death. A scene surfaced in Elder Gong's mind. 1 year ago, I had a personal disciple who was an extraordinary prodigy. His name was Feng Tian. If he had 3 more years, he probably would have surpassed your senior sister Worryless. Yi Wanwan had heard about what happened to Feng Tian from other students at the academy. Feng Tian participated in the martial competition and was nearly unrivaled but encountered Elder Lei He's eldest disciple. During his fight with Elder Lei He's eldest disciple, Feng Tian was beaten to death. Although this kind of martial competition ended when a result was reached, there were times when fatal accidents occurred too. Chapter 1669. Lei He's eldest disciple intentionally beat Feng Tian to death but claimed it was an accident and he didn't control his strength well enough. Hence, the academy was unable to pursue the matter. This time, by participating in the competition, you will end up like your senior brother Feng Tian. Elder Gong sighed softly. Elder Gong added, however, you probably won't enter the finals. You should be fine as long as you don't encounter Lei He's disciples. Yi Wanwan also didn't know whether she would reach the finals, but how could she cower before even stepping onto the battlefield? Based on her smug look earlier, if she didn't participate in this competition, her master would probably lose face. Well, what's done is done. I'll go at it with everything I've got. It's not like I'm afraid of them. Master, do you have alcohol? Yi Wanwan asked him. Elder Gong was startled. You're a mercenary and a girl, don't drink so much, Elder Gong replied. Seeing that Elder Gong was unwilling to give her alcohol, Yi Wanwan was forced to give up. After leaving the manor, Yi Wanwan immediately made a beeline for the cafe. Fill this up with the high alcohol content cocktail from last time. Yi Wanwan took out a brand new liquor gourd and handed it to the server. Yi Wanwan was exasperated as she watched the waiter filling up the gourd with the requested cocktail in a state of terror. Am I really a demon? Am I that frightening? After paying, Yi Wanwan carefully put the gourd away. Alcohol is truly wonderful. The outcome of this martial competition would rely completely on this liquor gourd. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. The Scarlet Flames Academy's rear mountain was packed with people. The typically rarely seen A-rank mercenaries were everywhere the eye could see, and there were even a lot of S-rank mercenaries in their gold uniforms present. Several large-scale stages were set up in the front already. The martial competition would officially start in an hour. The liquor gourd hung from Yi Wanwan's waist as she walked around and examined the area. It had to be said that there was truly some substance to Scarlet Flames Academy being one of the 3 great mercenary academies. They were exceptional indeed. Whether it was the higher-ups or the high-ranked mercenaries, their quantity and quality were on a completely different level from normal mercenary academies. Even if the Fearless Alliance attacked an academy like this at full strength, they would probably be sent flying back. Soon, Yi Wanwan reached the seating area for honored guests. She came looking for Elder Gong to converse with him, but before she could find him, a pair of strong hands landed softly on her shoulders. Yi Wanwan instantly spun around. Ji Xiuran. Yi Wanwan was startled upon seeing the man's gentle smile. The man in white before her was none other than Ji Xiuran. Yi Wanwan was about to speak when a chilly feeling sent her shivering. She reflexively looked at the honored guest seating. The man was wearing a rather formal suit and his eyes were icy without a trace of warmth, as though he became the personification of night itself. Lord Azura. Yi Wanwan was dumbstruck. What's going on? Why are both Ji Xiuran and Lord Azura here? Lord Azura's gaze settled on Ji Xiuran's hand atop Yi Wanwan's left shoulder and turned icier. Ji Xiuran acted like he didn't notice Lord Azura and was solely focused on Yi Wanwan. He chuckled lightly and asked, Xiaofeng, are you doing all right at Scarlet Flames Academy? Why are you here? Yi Wanwan frowned deeply at him. It was all right that they came, but why did Emperor Ji and Lord Azura both come? Chapter 1670. Scarlet Flames Academy invited us to watch. That's all, Ji Xiuran replied with a smile. At that moment, Elder Lei He appeared with Meng Ku and other students in tow and walked toward Lord Azura. It's my honor that Lord Azura came today, Lei He greeted him with a faint smile. Lord Azura uttered aloofly, allowing Lei He to sit beside him. Master, Yi is also participating, Meng Ku coldly said. Don't worry, Master. Elder Gong will lose another disciple today. Yi Wanwan will be dealt with. Lei He nodded and turned to Lord Azura. Excuse us, Lord Azura. Elder Gong recently accepted a disciple called Yi Wanwan. She provoked my disciple again and again, so I'm afraid my disciple won't be merciful today. Lord Azura intently stared at Lei He, his eyes akin to the coldest day of winter. Is that so? If Lord Azura is interested, there's no harm in watching the show together. How about it? Lei He suggested. All right. Lord Azura looked away from him and returned to occasionally glancing at Yi Wanwan and Emperor Ji in the distance. Both Lord Azura and Emperor Ji had business relationships with members of Scarlet Flame's Academy. Today, it was Elder Gong who invited Ji Shiran to watch, while it was Lei He who invited Lord Azura. Next to Lord Azura, Jiang Yen looked bewildered. How did that vixen become a student at Scarlet Flame's Academy? Although her makeup was incredibly ugly, he could recognize her eyes and mannerisms even if she turned into ashes. Jiang Yen was a little confused, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he started to look forward to the upcoming matches. Elder Lei He was extremely formidable, and his disciples were fairly famous in the independent state, so it would be immensely satisfying if they could teach that vixen a lesson and help him and his master get back at her. One, listen to master. Do the best you can, but don't be stubbornly competitive and reckless. If you're overpowered, you can admit defeat and yield. Elder Gong vigilantly instructed Yi Wanwan. Master, I understand, Yi Wanwan replied. Junior sister, don't worry. Second senior brother will watch over you. Second senior brother will shatter the head of whoever dares to fatally attack and bully you when the match is over. A tall man with a buff build joked next to Elder Gong. This strong man's name was Jian Hu. He was Elder Gong's second disciple and possessed the strength of a bull. He was famous for being vicious at Scarlet Flame's Academy. For some reason, Jian Hu had an inexplicable favorable impression of this little junior sister when he saw her, even though her face was a bit. Thank you, second senior brother. Yi Wanwan chuckled. Although Yi Wanwan didn't know this second senior brother, she found him familiar. She was guessing she had a good relationship with Jian Hu when she was worryless, or else she wouldn't feel such familiarity and affection. Everyone, I'm the referee for this martial arts competition. The matches will end when a result is reached, and the competitors will be determined by lottery, an elderly man announced as he stood on the central stage. After saying that, he drew 2 small balls from a closed box. A number was printed on each ball. Number 11. Come onto the stage. A C-rank mercenary swiftly walked onto the stage. Number 8, come onto the stage, the referee continued. Who's number 8? The referee knitted his brows at the lack of response. I'm number 8. Yi Wanwan suddenly answered and hastily walked onto the stage. When the higher-ups and high-ranked mercenaries saw the gray-uniformed Yi Wanwan entering the stage, they all frowned. Where did a D-rank mercenary get the guts to come here and join in on the fun? Even C-rank mercenaries rarely dare to participate in this kind of competition. Typically speaking, only students B-rank or higher participated. Chapter 1671. 1671. Typically speaking, only mercenary students B-rank or higher participated in Scarlet Flame's Academy's martial competition. Of course, D-rank mercenaries weren't restricted from participating, but most of them wouldn't bring contempt upon themselves. There were throngs of mercenaries around the stage. Some of the mercenaries widened their eyes in shock when they saw Yi Wanwan entering the stage. Several days ago, many mercenaries personally witnessed Yi Wanwan reporting the completion of 2 A-rank missions, but Scarlet Flame's Academy was home to too many mercenaries, so the majority of them didn't know about this matter and thought this D-rank mercenary only dared to participate in this kind of martial competition out of excessive ignorance. In the honored guest seating area, Ji Shiran was sitting next to Elder Gong, occasionally chatting with him, while Lord Azura unwaveringly watched Yi Wanwan walking toward the stage. Soon, Yi Wanwan arrived on the stage. Number 11, Li He, C-rank mercenary. The man glanced at Yi Wanwan, his lips curling into a smirk. Isn't my luck too good? This is probably the only D-rank mercenary in the entire Scarlet Flame's Academy who joined the martial competition this time, and I ran into her. Isn't this purely a free point for me? Number 8, Yi Wanwan, D-rank mercenary. Yi Wanwan greeted in return. Your courage is truly commendable for having the guts to participate in this martial competition as a D-rank mercenary. Don't worry though, I'll be merciful. The man snickered before stepping forward and swiftly dashing toward Yuanwan. C-rank mercenaries like him were naturally stronger than D-rank mercenaries, but there weren't any substantial differences since they were only a rank apart. Yuanwan took a deep breath and instantly gathered her thoughts. Everything in her surroundings slowed down in her field of view. She had possessed this ability since her time with the C family in China. Back then, she thought she was a martial arts genius, but it appeared that her skills were probably the abilities she possessed as worryless Nye before her memory was masked. To other people, Yuanwan looked like a statue silently standing in a corner of the stage without a single movement. In contrast, number 11 Li He was swiftly attacking her. That D-rank mercenary isn't stupefied, right? A mercenary's offhanded remark evoked rounds of laughter from the people around him. Boom! A giant noise reverberated through the air. Li He swung his fist upon reaching Yuanwan, but before anyone realized what had happened, the unmoving Yuanwan swiftly caught his extended arm and briskly tossed him from the stage. #11 Li He fell off the stage. Number 8 Yuanwan is the winner. The referee stood up at once and made the announcement to everyone. Fuck me. Li He rubbed his butt and looked like he ate shit as he stared at Yuanwan. A full-grown man like him was actually chucked off stage by a female D-rank mercenary? Are my 180 pounds of flesh pure decoration? Fine, you're ruthless. You purposefully stood there without moving and made me lower my guard. Li He grievously pointed at Yuanwan. He toppled his boat in the sewer today. This detestable D-rank mercenary. I shouldn't have been so careless. Chapter 1672. The martial competition had just begun, and he was the first to be defeated, and he lost so humiliatingly. Thank you for letting me win, Yuanwan said while cupping her fists and looking at the forlorn Li He. Who let you win? Li He harumphed. Should a grown man act so haughty? After the match ended, Yuanwan left the stage to rest and the referee continued to draw lots, picking a B-rank and an A-rank mercenary. The B-rank mercenary looked in despair. He originally wanted to test his luck but didn't expect to face an A-rank mercenary so quickly. Without any surprise, the B-rank was howling in pain a few minutes later. He was no match for the A-rank mercenary. Yuanwan observed the stage. The stage was a perfect size. As long as she didn't have to take the initiative to attack, she could passively wait to be attacked before suppressing her opponent. Moreover, due to the size of the stage, she could easily toss her opponent off the stage and win using that method. Even if she encountered an extremely formidable opponent, she could just admit defeat. If she really had to, she still had her liquor gourd. Yuanwan wanted to avoid using alcohol as much as she could. After all, she did gain worryless Nye's martial strength when she was drunk, but she also couldn't control it. Who knew what she would do in her drunken state? What if she jumped off the stage and beat up the referee? Then she would become the laughingstock of Scarlet Flame's Academy. As she watched, she lost interest in other people's matches. Most of these mercenaries were weaker than Big Dipper and 7-Star, and Yuanwan had already gotten bored of watching Big Dipper and 7-Star fight since they had scuffles every 3 days and a bigger fight every 5 days. So how could Yuanwan be interested in contestants weaker than Big Dipper and 7-Star? #165 Hong Yun and number 8 Yuanwan, the referee announced. A woman in a yellow uniform immediately walked onto the stage. Hearing her name called, Yuanwan also quickly walked up. These two mercenaries. One is a D rank and the other is a C rank. Heh, they're both quite lucky. I think Yuanwan is luckier, running into 2 C rank mercenaries in a row. D rank and C rank. Such a boring match. The majority of the mercenaries shook their heads in dismay upon seeing the 2 newest contestants, wishing nothing more than to leave immediately. There was nothing to watch. #165 Hong Yun, C-rank mercenary, the woman expressionlessly said with a glance at Yuanwan. #8 Yuanwan, D-rank mercenary, Yuanwan also said. I'm unwilling to attack a D-rank mercenary, so would you prefer to leave yourself or should I toss you off myself? Hong Yun coldly asked her. Attack. Yuanwan met her eyes. The woman frowned slightly. Yuanwan, Don't be ungrateful for the face I'm giving you. You're a D-rank mercenary. Did you really think you could win 2 matches in a row after winning 1 match? A chilly glint flashed through Hong Yun's eyes, and she immediately reached for Yi Wanwan. However, as soon as Hong Yun attacked, Yi Wanwan grabbed her arm. Hong Yun's expression shifted, and before she could react, a mystical force shot out of Yi Wanwan's hand. A second later, Hong Yun lost her balance, and she was sent flying back like a snipped kite by that mystical force. Chapter 1673 Bang. A heavy crash sounded as Hong Yun dropped onto the ground. Thank you for letting me win. Yi glanced at Hong Yun before looking away, disinclined to engage her any further. Hong Yun looked up at the indifferent Yi Wanwan, fuming with rage. A mere D-rank mercenary? Satisfying. Li Exen clapped joyfully. Those bullshit C-rank mercenaries. Try looking down on us D-rank mercenaries now. Bleh. Standing next to Li Exen, the D-rank mercenaries from the same dorm as them all nodded in agreement. After completing 2 A-rank missions, Boss Wanwan's honor points should be enough for her to be promoted to a B-rank mercenary, right? Of course. She's at least a peak B-rank, maybe even an A-rank mercenary. I'm guessing my sis one doesn't know how to be promoted or the purpose of honor points. She's truly my sis one, my real sister. Truly willful. Li Exen replied with a nod. Several D-rank mercenaries glanced at Li Exen. They had seen Shameless before but had never seen someone this shameless. Even claiming she was his real sister. Dozens of matches later, it was noon, and the martial competition came to a break. Yi Wanwan was only called up for 2 matches the entire morning and won both matches. Elder Gong turned to Yi Wanwan and said, "After this, you won't be so lucky anymore. All the C-rank mercenaries have been defeated, and you're the only D-rank mercenary left in the entire competition. The rest are B-rank or above." In other words, Elder Gong was telling Yi Wanwan to quit while she was ahead and not be recklessly headstrong. "I understand, Master," Yi Wanwan replied with a nod. "What a joke. I still haven't used the secret technique Elder Gong passed on to me. I mastered every twist to it already, so it'll be a piece of cake to take on a B-rank mercenary. It would be interesting to know how Elder Gong would feel if he learned that the disciple before him had mastered his secret technique already." "Quick, look!" someone exclaimed in shock. Everyone looked ahead of them. A woman with an apathetic mannerism was leisurely walking toward the VIP seats next to Elder Leihe. That woman is Nya Linglong. Shit, Scarlet Flames Academy's legend who created unbreakable records, Nya Linglong, Senior Sister Nya. I didn't expect Senior Sister Nya Linglong to also come. Are you kidding me? Senior Sister Nya Linglong was once Elder Leihe's disciple and a student at Scarlet Flames Academy, so of course she would attend such a formal competition. Back then, the first time Senior Sister Nya Linglong participated in a martial competition, she won 28 rounds in a row without a single defeat. It wasn't until she met Duan Feiyang in her 29th match that she admitted defeat of her own accord and obtained 2nd place. Senior Sister Nya hadn't grown enough yet, so she wasn't a match for Duan Feiyang. Now though, Duan Feiyang isn't a match for Senior Sister Nya. Everyone was over the moon about Nya Linglong's appearance and they looked at her with immense reverence. Only Elder Gong retained his icy expression and didn't even spare her a glance. Hashtag 329 Yunfeng and number 8 Yi Wanwan. Soon, the short break ended and the referee made an announcement again. A shadow flitted through the air, and a man appeared on the stage. Yi Wanwan also quickly walked up. "Yunfeng, A-rank mercenary," the man said to Yi Wanwan. "Yi Wanwan, D-rank mercenary," Yi Wanwan responded. "Aren't I too unlucky? I didn't encounter a single B-rank and I'm slammed with an A-rank immediately." Chapter 1674. That D-rank mercenary has used up all her luck. Encountering the A-ranked Yunfeng, TSKSK, this luck is... Numerous mercenaries burst into laughter beneath the stage. Swish. As expected of an A-rank mercenary, Yun Feng didn't waste any words and launched an attack. Yi Wanwan instantly entered a subconscious state, and Yun Feng's lightning-fast move slowed down in her vision. Swish! Yi Wanwan gathered all her strength into her palm and struck him with the weight of mountains. Elder Gong's merciful palm? Upon sensing the power behind Yi Wanwan's palm, Yun Feng couldn't avoid being stunned despite being an A-rank mercenary. Merciful palm was a secret technique created by Elder Gong and was never passed on to outsiders. Boom! A giant noise rang as their hands clashed together. In the next second, Yun Feng couldn't keep his balance and retreated several steps with a deep frown. The audience was stunned. The higher-ups turned to Yi Wanwan especially. The mercenaries who thought Yi Wanwan used up all her luck felt their smiles freezing on their faces. The A-rank mercenary, Yun Feng, was repelled by that D-rank mercenary. Next to Lei He, Meng Ke's lips curled up. No wonder she had the guts to participate. It turns out she knows Elder Gong's merciful palm. Now it makes sense why Elder Gong accepted a D-rank mercenary as a disciple. He probably came into contact with her a long time ago and taught her his merciful palm years ago. This was good though. If Yi Wanwan was defeated, how would she torment and kill Yi Wanwan on the stage? Nie Linglong kept her eyes closed the whole time, as though she was completely uninterested in the ongoing match. What? On the other end of the VIP seats, Elder Gong abruptly stood up and stared at Yi Wanwan, astonished. Master, your merciful palm. It's only been 2 days. Second senior brother Jian Hu exclaimed in surprise. Ji Xiuran smiled but didn't say anything. It appeared his decision to send Yi Wanwan to Scarlet Flames Academy was correct. He wanted worryless Nie's memories to slowly recover and awaken. How's this possible? Elder Gong was incredulous. A mere 2 days, yet Yi Wanwan mastered his merciful palm in its original form. Meanwhile, Elder Gong originally designated 3 whole years for her to learn it. Even worryless Nie back then took an entire year to completely master the merciful palm. Worryless Nie took a year, but this disciple of his, Yi Wan, she took 2 days. Elder Gong was stupefied. Bang! Another loud bang rang on the stage, and sweat drenched Yun Feng's forehead. The merciful palm utilized both offense and defense, so he couldn't get close to her at all. Alas, Yun Feng gritted his teeth. He couldn't unravel the merciful palm at all, so he was forced to cup his fist and announce, "Junior Sister Yi is fearsome, I admit defeat." A commotion erupted in the audience following his words. An A-rank mercenary actually conceded to a D-rank mercenary. After the referee announced the results, he drew Yi Wanwan again before she could leave. Her opponent was a B-rank mercenary. Damn, the B-rank mercenary looked at Yi Wanwan, embarrassed. Why am I so unlucky? Even Yun Feng admitted defeat. How could I win? He didn't give Yi Wanwan a chance to respond before vehemently shaking his head. You're awesome, I concede. After saying that, he left the stage without looking back. Hashtag for Jian Hu and number 10 Meng Tian. Jian Hu, Elder Gong's second disciple. Meng Tian, Elder Lei He's second disciple. Chapter 1675. The referee announced second senior brother and Lei He's second disciple's names. Jian Hu, be careful, Elder Gong warned. Master, don't worry. Jian Hu nodded and swiftly went on to the stage. The competition finally welcomed the clash of 2 S-rank mercenaries. Furthermore, one was Elder Gong's second disciple while the other was Elder Lei He's second disciple. Several years ago, it was on this same stage that one of Elder Gong's more favored disciples was forcefully beaten to death by Elder Lei He's eldest disciple. This was going to be a dramatic match. Heh, Jian Hu, I'm in a good mood today, so how about I cripple one of your legs? Meng Tian glanced at him. Fuck off. Jian Hu shouted angrily and swung his fist toward Meng Tian. However, Meng Tian was extremely fast, and Jian Hu's fist didn't meet its target. Jian Hu possessed immense strength, and any S-rank mercenary would be seriously injured for certain if they got punched by Jian Hu. Meng Tian was no exception. However, Meng Tian was very clever and didn't give Jian Hu any chance to approach him. Instead, he put distance between them and madly exhausted Jian Hu's strength. In the VIP seats, Yi Wanwan frowned deeply. Second senior brother Jian, who had a straightforward personality and couldn't withstand provocation. Meng Tian started leading him by his nose easily. Elder Gong previously mentioned that second senior brother hadn't graduated yet precisely because of this flaw in his personality. He got hot-headed easily, so he kept failing Scarlet Flame's graduation examination. From the looks of it, it was exactly as Elder Gong said. Otherwise, Meng Tian wouldn't be a match for Jianhu. Jianhu and Meng Tian's match lasted dozens of rounds. While Meng Tian didn't exhaust much of his stamina, Jianhu was breathing heavily already and drained too much stamina. Bang! Suddenly, Meng Tian found an opening and viciously kicked Jianhu in his left kneecap. Sweat drenched Jianhu's forehead and the color drained from his face. He roared and used his elbow to slam into Meng Tian's face. Yi Wanwan didn't doubt that Meng Tian's head would crack if Jianhu's attack landed on its mark. This kind of frightening strength was truly astonishing. Yi Wanwan had never seen anyone possessing strength as great as Jianhu. Unfortunately, Meng Ku was incredibly nimble, and his martial strength was a level higher than Jianhu's. Haha, are Elder Gong's disciples all a heap of trash? Meng Tian snorted and dodged Jianhu's fatal blow. At the same time, he heavily struck at Jianhu's kneecap again. Jianhu's left leg sustained serious damage, causing him to stagger backward. "Where are you running?" Meng Tian smirked and unleashed his full power upon seeing Jianhu's stamina drained. Within a few breaths, Jianhu was knocked to the ground. Meng Tian instantly stepped on Jianhu's stomach and remarked, "Tisk, how pitiful." Meng Tian wins. The referee immediately made the announcement when the winner was evident. Although Jianhu was reluctant, he had no choice but to allow himself to be carried to the infirmary. "Master, on the stretcher, Jianhu looked at Elder Gong with his fists clenched, wanting to say something. "Get treated first," Elder Gong ordered with a frown. There's still a wide distance between Elder Gong's disciple and Elder Lei's disciple. It's not unreasonable that Elder Lei has been suppressing Elder Gong all these years. Many higher-ups and mercenaries chimed in with their thoughts. Soon, it was Yi Wanwan's turn again. At the end of the day, Yi Wanwan fought 27 matches and won them all, successfully entering the finals. Chapter 1676. When the sun was descending in the west, only the top 10 mercenaries remained. 9 were S-rank while 1 was D-rank. Holy hell! A D-rank mercenary won 27 matches in a row. Back then, the first record that senior sister Nyaling Long established was only 28 rounds. This is the end, though. That Yi Wanwan hasn't encountered a single S-rank mercenary yet. A lot of strong veteran S-rank mercenaries didn't participate in this year's competition. Mercenaries from senior brother Grim Reaper's year didn't even come. Otherwise, how could she have entered the top 10? #8 Yi Wanwan and number 2 Meng Ku, the referee shortly announced. Silence descended on the venue. It was so quiet the drop of a needle could be heard. Meng Ku coldly walked onto the stage. "Junior sister Meng Ku, remember to be merciful," Meng Tian mocked from the seats for the top 10. "Senior brother, I'll try," Meng Ku replied aloofly. On the stage, Yi Wanwan looked at Meng Ku before turning to Meng Tian sitting with the other top 10. "Hold on," Yi Wanwan called out suddenly. Everyone turned to her. Was she about to concede defeat? That would be understandable since Yi Wanwan was Elder Gong's disciple, so Elder Lei's disciples wouldn't be merciful when they ran into her. Elder Gong nodded with satisfaction. Being able to enter the top 10 was quite nice already. Even if Yi Wanwan knew Merciful Palm, she still wasn't a match for Meng Ku, so conceding defeat was logical. It was also a type of tactic. Meng Ku glanced at Yi Wanwan. She couldn't stop Yi Wanwan if she wanted to concede defeat. This woman wasn't dim-witted, after all. Lord Azura's expressionless gaze landed on Yi Wanwan. "Contestant number 8, what do you want?" the referee inquired as he quickly walked onto the stage. "I feel like this type of match is meaningless," Yi Wanwan said to the referee. Meaningless? Everyone looked bewildered. What did she mean by meaningless? She's probably unhappy about having to surrender, so she's probably trying to gain the upper hand verbally first. There's no helping it. This junior sister is really strong already though. She's the first D-rank mercenary in the history of Scarlet Flames Academy's martial competition to enter the top 10. Surrendering is the smart choice since she encountered an S-rank mercenary like Meng Ku, who's also Elder Lei He's disciple. Enemies have to clash inevitably. I heard Yi Wanwan is Elder Gong's disciple in name. On the stage, the referee frowned and asked, "What do you want?" On top of Meng Ku, Yi Wanwan turned to the top 10 and raised her right arm, pointing at Meng Tian with her pointer finger. "I want to challenge him too." "What?" The referee was astonished. She wanted to challenge Meng Tian on top of Meng Ku? "Are you saying you want to compete with Meng Tian afterward if you win your match against Meng Ku?" the referee asked with uncertainty. "I'm saying," Yi Wanwan shook her head. "I want Meng Ku and Meng Tian to attack me together." An uproar reverberated throughout the venue. Elder Gong was surprised himself. Did his disciple go insane? Where did Yi Wanwan get this confidence? She must have gone mad, right? She wants to challenge two S-rank mercenaries, Meng Tian and Meng Ku, at the same time. Like 1v2? What kind of joke is this? Meng Tian is a whole level stronger than Meng Ku, alright? But she wants to challenge the two of them by herself. Chapter 1677. Everyone at the rear mountain turned to look at Yi Wanwan with surprise and incomprehension written all over their faces. It had to be said that it was already unfathomable that Yi Wanwan participated in this year's martial competition, managed to make it to this point and won 27 matches in a row. Furthermore, the number of A-rank mercenaries defeated by her was almost a miracle. To other people, Yi Wanwan's strength probably reached middle-tier A-rank mercenary level, but it was rather improbable for her to beat these top-tier A-rank mercenaries. After encountering Elder Lei He's disciple, Meng Ku, Yi Wanwan's smartest choice would have been to concede defeat immediately. No one found anything wrong with conceding defeat. What they couldn't understand was Yi Wanwan's extremely illogical desire to proceed with the match and challenge Meng Tian along with Meng Ku, engaging in a 1-versus-2 match. This had never happened before in the history of Scarlet Flames Academy's martial competition. At that moment, Elder Gong had a deep frown on his face. He couldn't understand Yi Wanwan's actions. Did she want to avenge her second senior brother, Jianhu? Even if she wanted to seek revenge, she should do what was within her capabilities instead of barging on ahead despite knowing she couldn't. That would make her look rather foolish. Moreover, Meng Ku was brimming with hostility toward Yi Wanwan, so she definitely wouldn't be merciful. Don't be reckless. Elder Gong suddenly stood up and shouted at Yi Wanwan. Even if it meant losing face, Elder Gong didn't want to see anything bad happening to his disciple on the stage. Emperor Ji stared at Yi Wanwan pensively. With Yi Wanwan's strength, dismantling every move as it came was her strong point, and she could use Merciful Palm to ingeniously win when she encountered normal A-rank mercenaries, but when she encountered S-rank mercenaries and chose to engage in a 1v2. Based on his knowledge of Yi Wanwan, she wasn't a rash person and most likely wouldn't do something like this unless she was confident. Nearby, Lord Azura glanced at Jiang Yen. Jiang Yen understood and walked to his side. Lord Azura whispered something to him. What? Jiang Yen looked surprised and baffled. His master actually wanted him to be ready to interfere with this match at any time? What did this mean? However, since his master made the command, it wasn't appropriate for him to question it, so he could only nod and agree. Only then did Nie Linglong, who had been resting her eyes, finally open her eyes and coldly examine Yi Wanwan. On the stage, Yi Wanwan ignored Elder Gong's advice and aloofly looked at Meng Tian. Haha, Meng Tian acted like he'd heard the funniest joke. You don't have the right to challenge me. Yi Wanwan merely turned to the referee. The top 10 seats were intended to be challenged to begin with, so can Meng Tian decline a challenge, referee? The referee considered it for a moment before promptly shaking his head. According to the competition's rules, Meng Ke doesn't have the power to decline a challenge. However, contestant number 8 Yi Wanwan, I have to remind you that Meng Tian is ranked 5th in the top 10 while Meng Ku is 8th, and you're in 10th place. Even if you challenge Meng Ku and Meng Tian at the same time and win, you can only replace Meng Tian at most and replace him at 5th place. That's enough. Yi Wanwan nodded. She didn't value the rankings too much. Chapter 1678. However, if she drank alcohol only to have a match with Meng Ku, it seemed too wasteful. It would be better to wipe them all out at once. All right. The referee nodded and turned to Meng Tian. Meng Tian, come down and accept the challenge. You aren't permitted to reject contestant number 8. Interesting. Meng Tian's lips turned up in a bone-chilling smirk. A second later, Meng Tian jumped down from his seat in the top 10 and leaped onto the stage. I would like to remind everyone that the match will end when a winner is clear. If anything happens against the rules, you're responsible for the consequences. The referee then left the stage. Only 3 people remained standing on the enormous stage. Junior sister Meng Ku, how about I stay on the side and watch the fight? Meng Tian suggested to her with a smile. That's exactly as I intended. Don't attack, senior brother Meng Tian. Allow me. Meng Ku proceeded to march toward Yi Wanwan with a frosty expression. Yi Wanwan gently placed her right hand on the gourd hanging from her waist. However, she released it after a moment of thought. There was no hurry to drink alcohol. She could test the distance between herself and these supposed S-rank mercenaries first. Swish. In the blink of an eye, Meng Ku struck with her palm, her hand slashing through the air like the arc of a sun ray, soft but vicious. There was enormous strength behind this strike. Normal mercenaries would be seriously injured at the very least if they were hit and escaped the fate of dying. How fast? Yi Wanwan was slightly surprised. Meng Ku was worthy of being an S-rank mercenary. Whether it was her strength or speed, they were both nearly perfect. However, Yi Wanwan didn't move from her position on the stage. In her eyes, Meng Ku's speed was slowed down infinitely, and the tracks of her movements became clear. In the VIP seats, Lord Azura's icy gaze remained glued to the girl's figure. The second Meng Ku attacked, Lord Azura stood up imperceptibly, as though he was prepared to stop this match at any time. His actions happened to be caught by Ji Shiran. Boom! An ear-shattering explosion blasted from the stage. Yi Wanwan instinctively retaliated with the merciful palm move. Currently speaking, Yi Wanwan's strongest offense was remaining passive and waiting for an attack. Despite knowing the magnificent technique merciful palm, it wouldn't have much power if she attacked of her own accord. A second later, Yi Wanwan and Meng Ku's palms clashed, and a mystical energy shot from Yi Wanwan's palm, dissipating a portion of Meng Ku's strength. Meng Ku snorted and fiercely pushed her right arm forward. An immense force enveloped Yi Wanwan. Everyone watched as Yi Wanwan's figure swiftly retreated backward. The superior one was evident. After steadying herself, Yi Wanwan gathered her thoughts. She could make do with handling an A-rank mercenary on her own, but it was completely unrealistic to defeat a true S-rank mercenary without drinking alcohol. Jiang Yan was a bit confused by this scene. He didn't mistake that ugly woman, right? She should be that vixen, the president of the Fearless Alliance, no? Yet bro Flat Top couldn't defeat Meng Ku? Haha, what's Yi Wanwan thinking? She can't even defeat Meng Ku but wants to fight both Meng Ku and Meng Tian together? I seriously can't understand her logic. Chapter 1679. I get it. Yi Wanwan probably knew she would lose without any doubt, but it wouldn't be good to surrender as Elder Gong's disciple upon encountering Elder Lei He's disciple. Hence, since she was going to lose anyway, it would be better to have a 1 versus 2 so that she could claim Elder Lei He's disciples fought against her in a pair if she really lost. This way, not only would she not humiliate herself if the fight was publicized, but she would also look good. That's reasonable. However, Yi Wanwan's a D-rank mercenary anyway, so it's reasonable for her to lose to an S-rank mercenary, no? As the audience conversed, Meng Ku derisively glanced at Yi Wanwan. With this tiny strength, who gave you the courage to act so insolently in front of me? Every single one of Elder Gong's disciples is truly a disappointment. Worryless Nye's records were all broken by Senior's sister Linglong. As for the remaining disciples, they're either beaten to death or seriously injured. Heh, how pitiful. Is that so? Yi Wanwan stared at Meng Ku, a chilly glint flashing through her eyes. Then she picked up her gourd in front of everyone. Everyone was bewildered by her strange move. Contestant number 8, I would like to remind you that you can't use concealed weapons in this martial competition. That includes poison, sulfuric acid, and poisonous powder. The referee harshly yelled at her from beneath the stage. The referee believed Yi Wanwan's gourd might be some hidden mechanism. What if it was a poisonous powder or sulfuric acid? What a wild imagination. Yi Wanwan ignored the referee and placed the gourd by her mouth. In a breath, she finished half of the high alcohol content cocktail. What's she doing? Is she drinking? What's she planning? Haha, is she about to use the drunken fists? The saying is right, alcohol emboldens the cowardly. Lord Azura involuntarily locked his brows together upon seeing Yi Wanwan drink the alcohol. Why are you suddenly drinking on the stage? Elder Gong shouted at her. Earlier, Yi Wanwan had asked him for strong liquor but was sternly rejected by him. He also warned her to always keep a clear mind as a mercenary and that alcohol could fog the mind. However, Elder Gong didn't expect Yi Wanwan's alcohol addiction to be this severe. She was even in the mood to drink at a time like this. Soon, everyone watched as Yi Wanwan sat down on the stage with slightly flushed cheeks. She propped her chin up with her right hand and revealed a bewitching smile every now and then. She is drunk. Referee, end the match, Elder Gong shouted at the referee. We can't. The martial competition's rules don't clearly state that drinking alcohol isn't permitted. There also isn't a rule that states an intoxicated person can't compete unless contestant number 8 admits defeat herself. The referee shook his head. This type of large-scale competition had to strictly follow the rules, so the audience couldn't forcefully surrender on a contestant's behalf. A performative clown. Meng Tian mocked with his arms crossed after a glance at Yi Wanwan, who was sitting on the stage after getting drunk. How boring. Meng Ku strode toward Yi Wanwan. The referee clearly stated earlier that the match would end when the winner was evident, so she had to kill Yi Wanwan with one blow if she wanted to make Yi Wanwan die on the stage. Goodbye, clown. Meng Ku stopped next to Yi Wanwan and snorted before putting all her strength behind her palm and slapping Yi Wanwan's fatal point. Chapter 1680. 1680. If this hit landed, it would be enough to shatter the head of a drunk person. Not good. The expressions of Li Exin and many other D-rank mercenaries from the same dorm as Yi Wanwan dove at this sight. However, they only heard a loud bang ringing out. Everyone was stupefied. Yi Wanwan was still sitting with her left hand supporting her chin, but her right hand had grasped Meng Ke's hand before the fatal blow landed. Meng Ke furrowed her brows and wanted to fling Yi Wanwan's right hand off, but no matter how hard she tried, Yi Wanwan's hand was as unshakable as the jaw of a tiger. Yi Wanwan released Meng Ku on her own, the momentum causing Meng Ku to stagger a few steps back. You're dead. Meng Ke stepped forward and her hand shot forward like a rainstorm. Bang. Slap. Despite the torrential storm of moves from Meng Ku, Yi Wanwan remained seated in her spot and casually waved her right hand as needed. Meng Ku's every move was easily dissembled by Yi Wanwan. It was useless whether you were nimble as a butterfly or ferocious as a tiger. What? Meng Ku's expression shifted. What happened? Nobody else could understand the current situation. Hey, are you done yet? Yi Wanwan stared at Meng Ke mockingly. You're dead. Meng Ke shouted harshly and gathered all of her strength in her palm before striking Yi Wanwan as fast as lightning. Swish. Everyone watched as Yi Wanwan nonchalantly raised her right arm and stuck her finger out. Swish. This finger slashed across the air, the sound of the wind heard faintly. Kaboom. A second later, Meng Ke's face turned ashen as an anguished howl ripped out of her mouth, and she was flung back with a finger like a snipped kite. The nearby Meng Tian agilely stepped forward and caught Meng Ku. The boisterous crowd turned silent, a deadly silence. Yi Wanwan managed to beat back Elder Lei He's disciple, Meng Ku, with merely a finger. Drunken fist. Someone cried. What kind of fist is drunken fist? Could it really be drunken fist? How's that possible? An uproar suddenly swept through the crowd. In the VIP seats, Elder Gong shot up and stared at Yi Wanwan incredulously. She learned his merciful palm in 2 days and also managed to fend off Meng Ku with a finger. You too. Yi Wanwan remained seated on the floor but hooked her middle finger toward Meng Ku and Meng Tian. Attack me together. You're seriously in a hurry to reincarnate. Meng Tian's lips curled up, and he twisted his neck before marching toward Yi Wanwan. Meanwhile, Meng Ku chose to use a different angle of approach, blocking all possible retreat routes. Upon reaching Yi Wanwan, Meng Tian derisively snorted and was about to say something. Swish. A shadow flickered, and the clueless Meng Tian was already spitting out a curtain of blood from his mouth before flying backward. Yi Wanwan's lips turned up, and she grabbed Meng Tian by his right leg, forcefully pulling him down. Kaboom! Meng Tian crashed to the stage floor harshly. Each. The howl of a dying pig broke out of Meng Tian's mouth. Under everyone's stunned eyes, Yi Wanwan stepped onto Meng Tian's left arm and the sound of shattering bones rang out. Chapter 1681 Meng Tian's anguished howl was accompanied by the sound of bones shattering. Your life is mine. Meng Ke angrily shouted behind Yi Wanwan and directed a fatal blow toward her from the back. Heh! Yi Wanwan's lips turned up, and she didn't even look at Meng Ku. It was unnecessary to turn around. Bang! Meng Ku was centimeters from Yi Wanwan when Yi Wanwan used her elbow to ruthlessly slam back. A second later, Meng Ku was the second snipped kite to fly back and collided into the stage's iron bars heavily. Whoa! Blood shot out of Meng Ku's mouth like an arrow leaving its dock. Meng Ku stared at Yi Wanwan in disbelief. How could this ugly woman be so strong? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Meng Ku gritted her teeth and swiftly got up from the floor before charging toward Yi Wanwan again. How could she lose to a D-rank mercenary and ugly woman? They and Master had always trounced all of Elder Gong's disciples, so she absolutely wouldn't permit any turnabouts. Why are you here again? Yi Wanwan turned around and glanced at Meng Ku charging toward her, obvious distaste surfacing on her face. You piece of trash. I want your life. Meng Ku shouted loudly. Yi Wanwan frowned slightly and lifted her right arm before Meng Ku could approach her, ruthlessly slapping Meng Ku. A breath later, a crisp slap rang out. Yi Wanwan had flung a slap onto Meng Ku's face. Kaboom! Meng Ku crashed to the floor from the force of the slap. Hey, you pieces of trash. All of you are too boring. Yi Wanwan glanced at the fallen Meng Ku and raised her right foot, stepping on Meng Ku's waist to prevent her from trying to stand up. Lie down and don't move. Meng Ku fell to the floor again. This scene on the stage caused silence to envelop the audience. Everyone's eyes were widened as though they'd seen a ghost. These two S-rank experts, Meng Ku and Meng Tian, didn't have any room for retaliation in the face of Yi Wanwan. They were basically piñatas being beaten up. You're dead. Meng Tian clutched his broken arm and pulled out a dagger from somewhere before charging toward Yi Wanwan. The dagger glinted eerily as he slashed it toward Yi Wanwan's neck. Upon seeing this, Ji Xiuran and Lord Azura both shot up simultaneously. Before they could do anything, Yi Wanwan grasped Meng Tian's wrist. You? Meng Tian stared at her incredulously. This woman, was this the speed of a human? Fisk. Yi Wanwan looked at Meng Tian, the derision in her eyes intensifying. Yi Wanwan didn't allow him to say anything and tightened her hold on his wrist. Meng Tian's wrist was forcibly broken, and the dagger clattered onto the floor. Yi Wanwan nimbly caught the falling dagger a second before it touched the floor. Then, without any warning signs, Yi Wanwan lightly brandished the dagger in front of everyone. You dare! Elder Lei He angrily yelled at her. This little bastard actually dares to kill my second disciple? Chapter 1682. The strange sound of a blade cutting flesh was heard from the stage. Yi Wanwan nonchalantly smirked as the dagger in her hand slashed across Meng Tian's neck. Meng Tian's pale face was brimming with shock as his hands fatally clutched his neck, his body reflexively falling backward. Blood seeped out from the gaps between his fingers, dyeing the stage's floor scarlet red within moments. Meng Tian stared at Yi Wanwan, wanting to say something, but as soon as he opened his mouth, blood sprayed out. "Did you have fun?" Yi Wanwan cheerfully watched Meng Tian with a languid smile as she allowed the blood to drop from her dagger onto the floor. Meng Tian twitched, and it wasn't long before his body fell back onto the stage with a boom. He spasmed a few more times before all movement ceased, and his final breath slipped out from his lips. This scene caused panic to invade Meng Ke's every cell, and fright filled her face as she looked at Yi Wanwan. "Fuck me." Li Xian's eyes were wide open as he dazedly watched the scene playing out on the stage, and Yi Wanwan, who was seemingly possessed by a demon. The D-rank mercenaries who lived with Yi Wan also looked like they had seen a ghost. How is that possible? Meng Tian's strength is a whole level higher than Meng Ke's. Is this time to question who's a level higher than whom? Yi Wanwan fucking killed someone. Killed someone? Yi Wanwan killed Meng Tian. Damn, is Yi Wanwan a psycho? She's this strong, so how is she a mere D-rank mercenary? Bullshit, is this the time to question who's strong? What do you mean bullshit? From the start, Yi Wanwan has been strong, too freaking strong. 1 versus 2, but one got seriously injured while the other got killed. The main point is that Yi Wanwan killed someone. In the guest seats, Lord Azura glanced at Meng Tian, whose neck was still bleeding, without a trace of pity in his icy eyes before calmly sitting back down. Jiang Yen coldly glanced at Meng Tian and Meng Ke. He originally thought Elder Lei He's 2 disciples would be able to teach Yi Wanwan a lesson, but didn't expect these 2 pieces of trash to not even be enough to squeeze through the gaps of her teeth. What an utter waste of his anticipation. Elder Gong stared at Yi Wanwan, indescribable ecstasy and excitement brimming from his eyes. Am I dreaming? Second senior brother Jian, who just returned to the guest seats and had white gauze wrapped around his arm from his treatment in the infirmary, looked at Yi Wanwan while flabbergasted. His master actually picked up a monster. Ji Xiuran's smile didn't recede at all, and he sipped some tea, acting like nothing had happened. Bastard, you cruelly killed your schoolmate in a competition. You won't survive past today. Elder Lei He suddenly leapt up, his aura frightening. Just try. Elder Gong also got up instantly, and the 2 elders were blazing with animosity. Some of the higher-ups who were observing the match all shook their heads toward Elder Lei He. In this kind of situation, Yi Wanwan had already committed an irreparable mistake, but even so, her punishment would be decided by the Enforcement Council and referee. As an elder and the master of Meng Tian and Meng Ke, Elder Lei He wasn't allowed to act on his own due to a conflict of interests. Elder Gong only relented after Elder Lei He retreated. Chapter 1683. 1683, Insolence. The referee quickly sprang onto the stage and harshly shouted while pointing at Yi Wanwan. I've already clearly stated the rules of the match to you. The match ends when a result is reached. Quickly surrender yourself for killing your schoolmate. Yi Wanwan looked at the referee, her brows furrowing together. Ugly old fart, who are you talking to? The referee was startled. This woman called me ugly. Who gave you the courage? Before calling someone ugly, can you look at the mirror yourself first? Insolence! The referee shouted and made to capture Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan lifted her right leg. Like a water dragon shooting out from the ocean, she was extremely fast. All the audience witnessed was a shadow flickering and wind whipping. Boom! Yi Wanwan kicked the referee's lower body, sending him flying back and falling off the stage. The referee clutched his crotch, sweat dripping from his forehead. This woman is too freaking malicious. As people say, don't hit people in the face and don't kick people in the tut. Truly too weak. Not a single person is good at fighting. Blah. Yi Wanwan shook her head and swept her eyes over the venue. Can I have some stronger opponents? Yi Wanwan turned to the top 10 seats and suddenly smiled. All of you, come down. The experts all looked at each other, but not a single person moved. In the VIP seats, Jian Hu looked at Elder Gong and anxiously asked, Master, did junior sister go mad? Attacking anyone she sees. Will she turn red with murder later and come down to kill us? Elder Gong didn't respond, but worry surfaced in his eyes. Yi Wanwan was evidently drunk to her bones. She even got into great trouble in her inebriated state. He already warned her before to not drink alcohol as a mercenary since drinking would lead to trouble. She didn't listen at all though and even carried a liquor gourd on her. Underneath the stage, Zhang De and Zhang Zwenyan met each other's eyes, their hearts beating faster. Zhang Zwenyan was especially drenched in sweat by this point. He never would have expected Yi Wanwan to be a monster from head to toe. She not only seriously injured an S-rank expert like Meng Ku but also killed someone like Meng Tian without any scruples or mercy. He actually provoked this kind of psycho back then. Thankfully, he was only a C-rank mercenary, so Yi Wanwan probably looked down on him, or else this psycho probably would have killed him a long time ago, right? Drill this into your head, never provoke her from now on. If you provoke her, don't drag me down with you. Zhang De viciously ordered while looking at Zhang Zwenyan. Heh, will she have the chance? She did kill Meng Tian, after all, Zhang Zwenyan snorted. Moreover, so what if Yi Wanwan was strong like a psycho? Zhang Zwenyan was under senior brother Grim Reaper's protection, along with many veteran S+ rank mercenaries, and had a good relationship with many SS rank mercenaries. When an S-rank mercenary like Meng Tian encountered S+ rank and top-tier S-rank mercenaries, he wasn't worthy of even holding their shoes for them. Even if Yi Wanwan didn't die, she wouldn't end up well after Elder Lei He's eldest disciple returned. After all, Elder Lei He's eldest disciple was an SS rank mercenary. In the VIP seats, Nie Linglong expressionlessly stared at Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan, Nie Linglong murmured, a derisive smile turning up on her face. It appeared worryless Nie's martial strength recovered whenever she drank alcohol. Chapter 1684, Linglong, kill her, Elder Leahy said. Nie Linglong shook her head though. I'm uninterested in her life. She had to leave this woman for the president of the Martial Arts Union. Leahy deliberated the matter for a moment before suddenly turning to the man next to him. Lord Azura. Leahy had business dealings with Lord Azura, so they did have a casual friendship as a result. It would be unsuitable for him to attack Yi Wanwan himself due to a conflict of interests, but Lord Azura could. Speak, the man apathetically responded. Lord Azura, help me kill that woman. For you, it should just be a lift of your hand. At that same moment, Yi Wanwan suddenly caught sight of the frosty man sitting next to Leahy. Yi Wanwan's expression froze and she couldn't look away at all. In the next second, the girl jumped off the stage like a flicker of a shadow and landed in front of them. Elder Leahy was taken aback when he noticed a figure jumping in front of them. When he saw that Yi Wanwan was the newcomer, his face chilled instantly. Classmate Yi, do you need something? An imperceptible ripple shifted in Lord Azura's icy pit eyes when he saw the girl jumping precisely toward him. Meanwhile, Ji Shiran's hand paused in his grip of his teacup, and his gentle eyes followed the girl. Yi Wanwan's eyeballs were about to be glued onto the man in his black, restrictive vintage suit, so she completely ignored Leahy. She shot forward a step and stopped in front of the man who captured her eyes thoroughly. The man was evidently dressed like an ancient prudish noble from ancient Germany and emitted a chilly aura that deterred every living being, but Yi Wanwan inexplicably felt like he was akin to a giant magnet that compelled her to approach him. Yi Wanwan's gaze trailed from the obsidian on his sleeves, up his arm to the first button on his collar, passing by his neck before arriving at the source of her attraction, his bewitching face. Contours that even the most talented sculptors in the world couldn't carve, brows that looked naturally imposing, a nose with a tall and slender bridge, lips thin and sexy, and his eyes especially, they were like snowy peaks shrouded by fog after a rain shower. They were icy, sacred, and holy. They made her want to tarnish them. His face was the only thing left on Yi Wanwan's mind, which was already dazed from the effects of alcohol. Lei He's expression worsened upon Yi Wanwan, overlooking him. He said again, "Insolence. What do you want to do, bastard? Admit to your guilt this instant." This gutsy student merely won a few matches, but she dared to overlook him simply because she had Gong's support? Yi Wanwan waved her hand at Lei, like she was batting a fly before supporting her hand on the table in front of this attractive man with a thump. With her elbow leaning against the table, the girl propped her chin on her palm, and she smiled at the man, her smile akin to a mountain of peach blossoms blooming overnight. She gently asked, "Gorgeous, you look rather familiar. May I ask if we've met somewhere before?" You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.